Welcome to Take Stock Live, Orem Hour, the Take Stock Investor Webinar Series, which goes live every Wednesday at 15 minutes after market close. Today, we have traded in competence and beauty in return for age. You get me as the administrator, and it may be a little clunkier, so please just bear with us as we go along. In particular, I'm supposed to tell you the current season 3 will run through the end of March with a strong emphasis on mining. Next week, we will have 3 companies from Sterling Capital: Trillium Gold, TGM, Goliath Resources, GOT, and Step Gold, STGO. We thank the TMX Group and the TSX Venture Exchange, our event partner, for helping us keep the conversation between companies and investors going in these very unusual times. We also recognize the vital support provided by our core sponsors: Fasken, MNP, Lead Jones Gable, and Olympia Trust Company. We'd also like to thank our supporters, InvestmentPitch Media and the Newswire, who give us tremendous support. And in addition, we appreciate our extended network for their support in launching this initiative: Calgary Meg, Calgary CIM, Sterling Capital, CHF, Conduit IR, and others. And now, some notes to you as attendees. Some housekeeping matters. You will note a red reconnect button at the top of your screen if you happen to lose connectivity. Just press it and you will be reconnected. The chat board may be utilized in this session. Please be clear about to whom your question is being addressed, and I will attempt to get to those questions. Note our disclaimer. This presentation is for information only and is not a solicitation to buy or sell stock. Companies pay fees to present at Take Stock, and Take Stock, its principal Raj Joshi, and yours truly may have equity investments in companies which present, may consult to the companies, and make no representation or investment or other recommendation in regards to these presenting or any other companies. You should do due diligence, go to SEDAR, connect with the companies directly in order to get detailed information, and seek professional investment advice. Contact details for the presenters can be found in the chat bar and also on our website, takestocklive.com. And Raj also posts them on the screen at the end of the show. Well, I guess today I'll be the one doing that. Today we have 3 mining companies. Each company will have a presentation, 7 minutes, with their PowerPoint, followed by a group Q&A session. We have Ken Armstrong, North Arrow Minerals, NAR, Matt Turner, Rockhaven Resources, RK, and Rob Cameron, Commander Resources, CMD. Let's start with the new kid on Take Stock Live, though we have had him many times at the Calgary Pete Club version of Take Stock and the Old North of 60 in Winnipeg. Ken Armstrong, President and CEO of North Arrow since April 2013, with over 25 years of experience in the exploration industry. Through that period, Mr. Armstrong has been involved in the discovery or evaluation of diamond-bearing kimberlites at 10 localities in Canada as well as Greenland. Mr. Armstrong is currently the president of the Northwest Territories and Nunavut Chamber of Mines and a director of Cornish Metals, formerly Strongbow Exploration. So Ken, let's get you going. And
great, thanks very much, Mark.
All yours.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Mark, and thanks, Raj, for setting up this platform. It's really good to be back and able to present to the Take Stock audience and provide a bit of an update on North Arrow. I'll certainly be making some forward-looking statements, so please keep that in mind. And first, just a corporate overview. North Arrow is listed on the Venture Exchange. We have about 111 million shares outstanding at the moment. Our market cap is just under $10 million. In terms of shareholders, management and directors own about a quarter of the company. We also have important investments from the Lundin Family Trust, Zebra, as well as Electrum and Ross Beatty. And all of those investors have importantly been taking part in funding the company as we've gone forward, including our most recent financing, which was in July of 2019. I'm not going to take you through the background of the people involved with the company. This information is on our website. And if you do look at it, you'll see we're quite an experienced group, particularly in diamonds. Diamonds have been our focus over the last number of years, and it will be as well in 2021. We're going to be collecting a 2,000-ton bulk sample from our flagship Now Yet project in Nunavut, where our purpose of that sample is to further evaluate a population of fancy orangey yellow colored diamonds that we think have a high value proposition associated with them. That sample is going to cost about $5.6 million, and it's funded by our partner on the project now, Burgundy Diamond Mines. When we look at potential upside on the markets, it's one interesting way to look at that right now is that Burgundy is listed on the Australian exchange. They are focused on diamonds, have a number of projects, but Now Yet is their flagship project or the main project this year, and their market cap is over $50 million Canadian right now. And as I said, ours is sitting at under 10, and we're going to still retain a 60% interest in the project when that's done. We've been very successful at finding diamonds in Canada over the last number of years. But I presented those projects in the past to the TAKESTOCK audience. And so today is an opportunity to touch on what we think is a bit of a sleeper gold property in our portfolio, the Hope Bay Oro project. We've been holding on to it, waiting for a couple of things, a proper gold market, which we think we're in, and also some stable ownership for the adjacent Doris gold mine. And with last week's news that Agnico Eagle has closed its acquisition of TMAC Resources, we think that ownership is now in place. Just stepping back, the Hope Bay Greenstone Belt is a classic greenstone terrain, the kind that hosts long-lived gold mining camps like we've seen in Yellowknife and Red Lake and Timmins. There has been a fair bit of past exploration in the belt by earlier workers, and 3 main deposits have been found at Boston, Madrid, and Doris. The 3 deposits combined now that are owned by Agnico host measured and indicated resources just over 5 million ounces rather, plus another couple million ounces of inferred resources. But the most important of the deposits for North Arrow's perspective is Doris. It's located right at the north end of the belt and right adjacent to our Hope Bay Oro project. This is a great photo here. You can see some of the mine infrastructure at Doris looking northwards and our property boundary only 3 kilometers away. This photo dates to about 2017. On the property, there is one primary gold showing at Ida Point, where past drilling has returned 5.5 grams over 6 meters and 8 grams over just over 4 meters. But the main takeaway that I'd like you to walk away from this talk with is that this is prime real estate. Located anywhere else, this property would have been fully evaluated by now, and that's not the case. And it shares the same attributes as Doris. It's the same rocks, the same structural setting, and the same mineralization style. And in terms of rocks, the Doris deposit is hosted within a package of very distinctive iron titanium basalts. We have on our website a detailed presentation that talks about the chemistry of those rocks, and we're able to map them up onto our property, sort of following these red arrows are pointing where we can see these rocks. With looking at the chemistry, we're able to show other areas where these iron titanium basalts are located to the north of this sort of brown blob, which is a young diabase sill that crosscuts the mineralization. And kind of hides what's going on the property too. And we think that's an exploration opportunity. When you look at, and particularly on the magnetic map on the right here, this red band that comes up to sort of where the third arrow is, you can see there's a bit of a bend to the northeast of the Doris Volcanics. And that's important because that is essentially the same style of structure that we see at the Doris deposit itself, where the volcanics have been bent, where they are in contact with a northeast trending regional structure. And that's where the mineralization is occurring. And we see the exact same setup in the middle of our property. And there's a number of other northeast trending structures that could point to additional target areas. And lastly, in addition to the same rocks and the same structural setting, the same style of mineralization. On the top here, we see a photo on the left is a picture of the original trenches over the Doris veins. That vein sits at a contact between these iron titanium basalts and regular magnesium basalts. At that same contact on the Oro property, we also see quartz veining, iron carbonate alteration, A little bit of drilling that's been done. Our best result is 7 grams over 30 centimeters. So a discovery hasn't yet been made, but the setting is there, and that's really important. And then on the bottom, we also see a similar situation at the H4, H3 quartz vein system in the northern part of the property, where we see in these veins these very unique tourmaline pyrite septa that are associated with gold mineralization. Values have ranged from background up to 15 grams per ton here, and we see the exact same tourmaline pyrite septa associated with gold mineralization at Doris. And so looking forward, now is a time, we think, having a very solid owner in Agnico of the property immediately adjacent to where we're working. Now's the time to revisit this property. We're going to look at areas of structural complexity and what's happening underneath overburden and what's happening underneath that diabase sill. And we're going to do that either on our own or with a joint venture partner would be probably the preferred way we would do it. But the plan is to get going on that this summer. We have a nice quote here from Sean Boyd, who's the CEO of Agnico, just talking about the importance that early stage exploration plays in adding value, and we agree with that completely. And having that sort of vision right next to us, we think, is positive. And when we look at the overall setting of our projects, we are a Northern Explorer. When we look at where Hope Bay sits and where our Now Yet project sits, they both actually sit on the Arctic Circle. And so we think that there's a really good combination here and the opportunity to be finding both gold and yellow diamonds from Now Yet. From the land of the midnight sun. And so that's going to be a real focus for us. We will be conducting the bulk sample this summer starting in June at Now Yet, fully funded by our partner. And now we're looking to add to that the good combination of looking to fully evaluate the Hope Bay Oro project. So thanks very much for that, and I look forward to the discussion afterwards.
Thank you very much, Ken. And next up, Matt Turner, CEO, Rockhaven Resources. And I've got commanders up, so let me fix that error on my part.
No problem, Mark.
You probably wondered when I'd twig and catch on, and I had my other...
That's why
I had my speaking notes up, and I just saw the corner of the eye that it was the wrong little element. So Matt Turner, CEO, Rockhaven Resources. Matt is a professional geologist born in Calgary, but spent most of his growing up years in the historic mining town of Riondell on the east shore of Kootenay Lake, and completed a degree in Earth and Ocean Sciences at UBC in 2002, going on to manage numerous exploration projects throughout Western Canada, focusing mainly on precious metal vein, IOCG, and diamond deposits. He became the CEO of Rockhaven Resources in 2008. All yours, Matt.
Thanks so much, Mark, and thanks everyone for tuning in again. I guess this is our fourth Take Stock, one in the flesh in Calgary before COVID, and then 3 since then in the virtual space. So it's always a pleasure to present here. And I guess probably a lot of people have on the presentation here have seen it before, but for those that haven't, I'll be kind of walking everyone through how we've grown this this area that you can see here that hosts our deposit from basically a forgotten property, only 3 hours drive from Whitehorse, to where it sits right now, one of the highest grade plus 1 million ounce gold deposits ever discovered in Yukon's history, and we've done that over the course of 10 years. So it's been pretty exciting to move this project forward. I will be saying forward-looking statements in this presentation. Just a quick kind of glance at our group and the share structure. First off, really well-seasoned, experienced team, both in regards to exploration, money raising, selling of projects or properties. So really good slate of people here behind the company. We've been running Rockhaven now out of our group for about 15 years. And we've never done a rollback. We're sitting at just over 200 million shares outstanding. Market cap of about 35, a little bit less today, about 32 or 33 million Canadian. And we've got just over $5 million in the treasury. Our shareholders, we've got a very strong, about covers about 62% or so of the company, and that's effectively 4 main groups that hold that. In regards to some of the highlights of the property, again, it's a nice big resource. We're sitting at about 1.6 million ounces gold equivalent at about 5 grams gold equivalent, with about 75% of the value in gold. It's probably coming down now with the increase in silver, but there's also silver, lead, and zinc in the system as well. So it's an epithermal deposit, and that's more or less why you have the high grade. We wrapped up economics around it this year. We announced that in mid-July 2020. It shows very well. We did that $14.50 gold and $17 silver and a 72-cent dollar. But at those metal prices, we're just under 400 million post-tax NPV and an IRR of about 37%. The deposit's 100% owned. It's royalty-free. Again, it's road accessible, only about 3 hours drive from Whitehorse, and it's in a historic gold belt, so there's old mines around us. Lots of upside, exploration upside in the large land package. We're sitting at about 287 square kilometers now in size. But again, it's easy to say significant exploration upside, but it's hard to prove. And we actually did that this year. We went out and found a whole new vein system that's at the Rust target. We announced that a couple weeks ago. So that's going to be one of our focuses for 2021. Very undervalued. I'll talk about that in the presentation. And we're hoping for a significant re-rating as we go into a very aggressive drill program this year, which includes our advancement into pre-fees. Again, very well located. Only about an hour drive from the town of Carmacks along the Klondike Highway. We're in this broader Dawson Gold Belt, which hosts some of the bigger deposits in the Yukon. Again, very high grade. This is one of our hits from our infill drill program, almost 100 grams over 2.5 meters. How this translates into resources. So, again, about 1.6 million ounces gold equivalent at about 5 grams gold equivalent, with about 60% of those resources in the indicated category. 2021 we'll see us focused on converting as many of the inferred resources as we can into indicated. Again, I touched on the PA highlights. One thing, again, it was at quite a bit lower gold prices and silver prices. If we're looking at a plus 20% on the sensitivities, we're flirting in the $540 million range, and going up into the 50% IRR. Pretty decent life of mine cash costs and all-in sustaining costs. Our capex is a bit high for the production profile. We're looking at about 1 million ounces produced over the 12-year mine life. But again, with those new discoveries, I think it's going to be really eyeing up this figure and trying to get that up. Here's a look. Again, it's a phenomenal place to work. There's kind of some of the projected areas where the pits and the tailings will be. There's actually already a tailings from the local placer mine though too, so not hard to envision. Here's a look at the underground development beneath the pits, and it goes down a significant way. You look at, say, the Western BRX, for example. It's about 500 meters by 500 meters. But in this particular zone, I highlight this because it's a real value driver, about 420,000 ounces of gold produced, and that's at an average grade of about 10 grams or so. Unfortunately, the slide didn't come in all that well. Maybe after Rob talks, I'll provide a link to the study on the chat room here. But basically, this was done by Joel Schneier from Capstone Headwaters. It's right hot off the press. He put it out last week. But he basically looked at all the companies that had put out PAs over the last 5 years and that were producing less than 200,000 ounces of gold annually. So it's a nice kind of more of an apples to apples comparison than what we usually see. This is all normalized to $1,600 gold and a 5% discount rate. So what I like to kind of show is where we sit right here. Well, I don't like to show. It's a little bit disappointing. we are the lowest valued company in this grouping of about 25 or 26 companies. So again, just looking at the value potential here, the unrealized value, and the big thing, task forward, as I put here, better communication of the value proposition for Rockhaven, where we stand right now. again, get that production profile expanded, and I think inherently you'll get a re-rate as you de-risk the project as you go into pre-fees. So that's what we're focused on. And then again, I've got to touch on the discovery that we announced a few weeks ago. So here's where the resource sits up in here, about 3 kilometers away. We had a fairly significantly large gold and arsenic and soil anomaly. We did a fence across that, and here's some of the results. They basically kind of cluster in about a three-hole grouping, and that's where we'll be focused on expansion drilling and follow-up drilling in 2021. So that's my time. Thanks everyone for.
Yep. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thanks, Mark.
And now Rob Cameron with the proper presentation. To take us home. Rob is the CEO of Commander Resources and a geologist with over 35 years of experience, including work with Dome Mines, Placer Dome, Phelps Dodge, and Freeport McMoran, as well as being a mining analyst for Research Capital. And I'm old enough to remembered when Dome Mines was listed before it was Placer Dome. As CEO of Valley High Ventures, he was involved with the discovery of the Cordero silver deposit in Mexico, which was sold for $130 million. Rob, it's all yours.
Well, thanks, Mark. It's good to be back. Yeah, it's our 3rd time here at the TAKESTOCK Live, and I'm going to be talking today mostly about our First Loon Gold project. We got results from some of our airborne geophysics in the fall here, and so I'll be updating everybody on that. But we are a prospect generator. We have a lot of assets, so I'm just really focusing on our newest one right now today. We're exploring for gold and copper in Canada and a little bit of Mexico. So I'll just move on to the next slide here. Corporate disclosure, you can read that at your leisure. Just a snapshot of the company first before I get into the First Loon project. As I mentioned, we're a focused prospect generator primarily in Canada. We've been around since 1990. We're one of the older companies out there. As a prospect generator, you live through joint ventures and partners. We have 3 active joint ventures. Freeport McMoran is working our copper project in BC called Burn. Imperial Metals is working an area package we have around their mine at Mount Polley. And Fjordland Exploration and their funding partner, Robert Friedland's HPX, are funding exploration in our Voisey's Bay nickel targets. But our core asset of the company that underpins our value is our 1% royalty we have on Maritime's gold project in Newfoundland that's looking like it'll be coming into production in 2022. They're on track for that. And we would be generating significant income from that royalty starting next year. So we're really on the cusp of a transformational change in the company. And we have an additional 8 projects that we continue to work on in advance that are looking for partners, and First Loon is one of them. So I'll be talking about First Loon. Some corporate background here. We very tight capital structure here, only 35.6 million shares outstanding with 0 warrants. We're sitting on about $1.5 million in cash and cash equivalent with a market cap of $7.5 million. Our stock has performed quite well in the last year. Maybe because of TAKESTOCK Live, we don't know, but we've done quite well in the marketplace. We've acquired a new strategic investor. If you see in the pie chart over here, Frucht Express out of Austria has acquired a 19% interest in the company, and there'll be a strong supporting partner going forward in the coming years here. So next slide here. This is our project and royalty distribution map. You can see it's primarily Canada, except for a solitary project in Mexico. But today I'm going to talk about First Loon. This is a gold project we have in northwestern Ontario in the Pickle Lake Gold Camp. This is the geology setting for the Pickle Lake district. You can see Thunder Bay and Lake Superior on the bottom of the map there for scale. We're in the Uchi sub-province, which is a well-endowed well-known gold belt. Red Lake on the left-hand side of that map is a 30 million ounce high-grade resource or mined production. And the stellar discovery at Dixie by Great Bear Resources is within the Red Lake camp. As you go to the east, you come across to the next cluster of dots, which is the Pickle Lake Gold Camp, where we are located. And you can see our First Loon Gold property in red in that map. And this is the claim position right in the immediate vicinity of our property. So we're in red. We have a large land position, but we're dwarfed by our neighbors. The big orange package in the middle of the slide is an Australian company called Otico, who are exploring the Pickle Crow, past-producing Pickle Crow mine site. They have a 350 million market cap in the middle of a 45,000 meter drill program right on the boundaries of our property. And the Mauve property is Ardedan, another Australian junior that's exploring their properties, which are dominantly to the west of this slide. And you can see our property looks small, but that's a 30-kilometer long strike length of favorable greenstone belt that is covered by that land position. So it's quite large. It's just dwarfed by the scale of the neighbors. What we see here is these are iron formation hosted gold systems. You can map the iron formations quite well with magnetics. You can see through the middle of the map, the gray swath is a band of iron formations, which is a key marker in the greenstone belts. You can see it come through a tight closure right at the Pickle Crow mine, and that's significant. It swings back to the northeast and has another closure at the northeast end of our red property, and then swings back to the southwest with another fold closure. These gold deposits are in this particular area, and even in Red Lake to a certain extent, are hosted in these fold closures, F2 fold closures and related structures. So we have 2 of these fold closures on our property defined by our new mag data. So we go to the next slide. What's it look like, these deposits that we're looking for? This is Pickle Crow map on the left. Complex broken up iron formations, the brown units in there, which is significant at the fold closures. The cartoon map on the right is really what do these ore bodies look like. They're hosted within the iron formations, in this case the blue unit, also in veins emanating out from the iron formation. So 2 kind of targets. And more importantly, these are what the ore bodies look like. They're long, pencil, deep plunging rods. Tough exploration targets because the surface expression is limited. But once you tag one, they go to depth. You can see the CN tower here for scale in the middle of the slide. So that's our target. This is the magnetic maps. The brighter magnetics is our recently completed 800 line kilometer mag EM survey. You can see we could trace the iron formations through our property with a closure at the north target area, swinging back through the middle of the property with a complex closure at the south target area. These are our 2 main focuses of exploration coming up. The resistivity map also shows these distinct circular resistivity lows. We know for a fact that this one at the south end is a syntectonic intrusion. These are most likely syntectonic intrusions as well. Another key feature of fold closure. So everything goes on in the fold closures, and that's where we'll focus our efforts. And then here is the geology map synthesized from all that data. Basically, it's the same geology with colors for rock types put in into the picture. Tough area. It's flat. There's no outcrop. It's swamps. It's forests. It's lakes. Very little outcrop. When you do see outcrop, it's almost a random occurrence when you come across one. But we do see some interesting features in the rocks, such as a shear zone cutting through the mafic volcanics with these associated quartz veins on the flanks of the shear zone. Exploration is challenging in this covered area with outcrop very limited, so we're focusing on tills probably as the next step. You can see we have sandy tills, which is not an ideal substrate to sample. We have some oxidized basal tills, which is the key one to sample. We've got an orientation survey, just waiting on results to come in to see the efficacy of that sort of sampling protocol. And in the little map on the bottom, you can see the glacial dispersion train and the location of our orientation samples, which we're waiting. So next year, till sampling. Hopefully, as a prospect generator, we're also looking for a partner. Stay tuned. We'll be doing it ourselves, or we'll have a partner. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Rob. And now if we can get Ken and Matt to come back and join us. Very good. We've got all of you. So my first question, pretty straightforward. Can each of you be more explicit on your exploration objectives for these particular projects that you've presented, and possibly other projects that you also have going on? And let's go with Ken, Matt, and Rob.
Yeah, I mean, we're just sort of revisiting the property now. So I think a good goal for this summer would be to get on the property. And I talked a little bit about the sort of the unique chemistry of the Doris volcanics. I mean, that's a real marker. And the next stage there is, I think, a lithogeochem survey in that region. There's a number of a fair bit of overburden filled draws between outcrops, and essentially a proper lithogeochem survey it sounds very simplistic, and it almost is, but anywhere where we can find these iron titanium basalts and then the next outcrop is our magnesium basalts, that draw between them is automatically a target. So it's getting things ready to that sort of drill ready stage. There are things that could get drilled right away, so it would partly depend on, I think a more aggressive program would rely on us getting a partner to come in and fund it. Otherwise, we'd be in doing sort of that base level type work to get things ready for a future drill program.
For us, Mark, me now? Perfect. Yeah, so for us, it's going to be we'll be starting at about 20,000 meters is what's planned for drilling. And that's going to be focused on up on the hill, so converting the remaining inferred. So basically everything down below about the 180 to 200 meter mark. So infilling that at 25 meter centers approximately to take that to the indicated category. When we infilled back in 2017, we actually made the deposit better. And so we're hoping that, and you can actually see that in you can see just the difference in the average grade between the indicated and inferred. It's probably about 70% higher, the indicated grade. So again, can't guarantee anything, but that's the big hope is if you hit even the same type of mineralization, the stats start working more in your favor, and so you can get more of an increase in the grade. And then the other part of the program will be to aggressively drill off. Well, first, really, I guess take a good look at the Rusk and see the kind of the size potential and the economic potential of it. And if it looks good, if these veins continue along strike and at depth, then we're going to hit it really, really, really hard. So you might see 2 or 3 drills down there drilling till October. So it's first we got to go through that phase 1 and see what Rusk can really hold, and then if it looks good, then we'll hit it really hard.
All right, for Commander, I mean, next year our focus will be primarily the First Loon project, regardless of whether a partner shows up or not. Our mandate as a prospect generator is to continually de-risk the projects and upgrade them until we do find a partner. So we will be planning on doing extensive till sampling throughout the property. So the geochem layer is the one that's missing right now. Hopefully that process will identify some more focused targets, which could result in defining early stage drill target. It's a grassroots project. It's from scratch. It's only been 11 months since we staked the ground, and it's a challenging environment. But we plan on doing that till survey next. It's also part of a companion project to the south, our Sabin project in the Wabigoon, where we had a good gold discovery through prospecting this year as well in what's normally known as a VMS camp. So we have a sort of twin projects going concurrently this summer, which will be sort of our main emphasis. And then as a prospect generator, we're always looking and adding new projects into the pipeline. So we'll be working on a number of things through the year, but the primary work will be these 2 projects in Western Ontario.
Very good. Well, while we're on the subject, tell us if this exploration that you've discussed is funded without a partner, and I think Ken, you can talk about it in that regard. And then also, what would be the timelines for getting in the field and getting some first results? And let's reverse. Let's go Rob, Matt, Ken.
Okay, well, that's a good question. We do have a reasonable treasury right now with our marketable securities and our cash on hand. We got about $1.5 million to work with. We may contemplate a financing at some point to maybe do some of the additional work we want to do elsewhere. But for now, we're pretty well funded for this work. And the timeline is challenging. We'll have to see how COVID rolls out through the spring. We'd like to beat the black flies for the first round of geochem sampling in May or June. And then we could follow up on those results in the fall. So it gives us two windows to work on the property after we get the results back.
For us, I guess the answer is yes and no. So yes, we've got at least the first phase all funded. So the infill drilling and then some of the exploration work at Rusk. But again, if the Rusk really looks like it's got some legs, then we'll be looking at raising money, and we might do that either midsummer or even before the summer starts, just to get everything in place. When you look at this year's the delay in assays, it's been incredible, 4 months, right? So if we're just going off visuals, that's a bit more of a risk, but now that we have a sense of what we're looking for, if we do have that, if we do have those dollars already raised, we can deploy them without waiting for assays. And then, sorry, the second part of your question, Mark, on that was the, what was it exactly?
Timing of first.
Timing, yeah. So it's funny because I'm just in the process of signing drill contracts right now. I think we just bought about $120,000 worth of core boxes last week. So it's so yeah, we're going to be up there in mid-May, and again, 2 or 3 drills. Really depends on how things go with the COVID protocols, but it's going to be big.
And for us, as I mentioned in the program, for corporately, our main project is the bulk sample at Now Yet, 2,000 tons, and that is fully financed by our partner Burgundy. The $5.6 million is there. We're operating it. Everything's in place, fuel, and the expected sort of start date on that is the middle of June. And for Hope Bay, it's not funded right now. We would need to look at how to do that, and that's partly we're just sort of a bit of a coming out party for the project right now. I mean, we have been, as I said, waiting on some stability at Doris and the remainder of the belt to kind of provide that platform and getting eyeballs back on the belt and from an exploration perspective. So with that just happening, we'll size of program and so on would depend on whether we're funding it ourselves or not. And we're just starting that process. And like we've touched on here, COVID is the risk, I think, for any activity right now, and we got to watch over the next few months how it rolls out. For projects in the territories, what's of interest is that, and I think it's a good decision by the federal government and the territorial governments, is each of the territories are getting sort of an over allotment of vaccine right now to try and get 3/4 of the adult population vaccinated by the end of March, which is smart because that's meaningful vaccination that's happening. And if that happens, that'll help things. Right now, there is a mechanism to get up into Nunavut and NWT to explore, so we'll be following the protocols that are in place, but we'll be watching it carefully.
I think you're on mute, Mark.
I froze up for a bit there. My apologies, gentlemen. So each of you has exploration targets which have not been the focus of your presentation. Do you have anything else to add on these other projects? And let's start with Matt and then go Ken and Rob.
Yeah, like what I've mainly been discussing is the epithermal part of the mineralizing system at Claza, but there's a porphyry part of it as well that I think it's actually got the attention of a lot of the big copper gold miners out there, the guys that's kind of specialize in the porphyry side of the story. And we've done very, very, very little work on that part of the property, but we know, and this is from Geocron, just through the experience we have in this Dawson Gold Belt, that this system is the same age as the Casino deposit system, and the Casino it's one of the largest undeveloped copper gold resources in the world, and so it's pretty neat to see that following on the porphyry side of things. But again, our focus has been so much on the grade over the years that we haven't really given the porphyry much of a look. But it's I think it might be something that either maybe you want to even spin it off at some point, but or say give it a solid, say 10 to 15 hole look. So that's, yeah, I'd say that's the biggest untold part of our story.
And I think from North Arrow's perspective, as I said, we're a diamond explorer, and we have a good group of properties, and we've been pretty successful making discoveries over the last 5 years in Piku in Saskatchewan, and the Mel discovery we made up in Nunavut as well. The reality has been, over the last few years, that diamonds have been out of favor, and as a commodity, they haven't really taken the same sort of lift that we've seen in gold and base metals and some of the other energy metals. And its time is going to come. We think we're starting to see a bit of a turn, things happening in the space on the retail side, as well as in the midstream and on the mining side. And we think the window is starting to open here, and we're really well position to move forward with those projects. So we've been very careful over the last few years with our expenditures, maintaining the properties, maintaining our team, which is very, very important, so that we're well positioned when the market's gaze does come back to diamonds, and the start with the bulk sample at Naujaat is going to be a big start of that. And that does remain where our sort of focus is, but waiting for the market to kind of turn with us before we jump in with both feet on those other new discoveries we've made.
Yeah, for Commander, as I alluded to in the previous answer, we have our large Savin project just south of First Loon. It's much more mature than First Loon. It's got 20 years or 25 years of exploration history that's identified a lot of very robust VMS targets. But this year we found a new intrusion-hosted gold system that looks very intriguing. So we'll be doing a significant amount of work following up on that discovery as well. And then elsewhere, we have an abundance of projects. We'll be working a bit on our Pedro gold project in Mexico, an epithermal gold target, as well as some of our porphyry targets in BC. So we got a lot of other irons in the fire, but the headliners will be probably First Loon and Savin in the coming year. And plus our 3 partner-funded activities will be ongoing.
Right. So, Rob, I have a question specifically for you. That property at Pickle Lake was not staked. What was it that you saw that the other parties did not see?
Oh, I don't know. It was a product of a long-term compilation exercise. So we spent the previous 6 months compiling the regional data. Commander worked there extensively in the 90s, so we have a lot of in-house knowledge of some of the targets in the area. As I mentioned, Commander's a 30-year-old company. We also acquired all the database from Union Miniere or UMEX Canada when the company was formed in 1990, and they were big players in the area. So we had a proprietary database as well, which was the core of our compilation efforts. One of the map colors on that map is the former Theory nickel mine, which was operated by UMEX back in the day as well. So we have some inside knowledge and experience in the area. But all we saw was, from first principles, looking at the underexplored extensions of known systems. And I think our timing was right because the ground has all been staked up since we acquired that package.
Very good. Now, a question for Ken, which we've asked almost all of our other presenters over the course of Take Stock Live, so we won't bore the audience with them. But Ken, talk to us about local community relations, where you are operating and how you find it.
It's hugely important, obviously, for any project anywhere in Canada, anywhere in the world, for that matter. Our properties, for the most part, are in the territories, and speaking specifically about the 2 that I've talked about most here are in Nunavut, and it's pretty straightforward. I mean, which of the 3 Inuit regions you're in that Nunavut is divided into. You need to contact the local Inuit Association, engage with them, engage with local communities, and make sure that there's comfort there, and let them know you're working and what you're doing, and just keep that communication ongoing. The work that we've done on our Naujaat project, the project's named after the community that we work out of, actually. It's a kind of what's very unique and pretty cool about that project is that the kimberlite, the deposit, is within the municipal boundaries of the community. And so it means we're right on Tidewater. We don't have to have a camp. We work from town. We rent houses. This summer, 2/3 of our employees, if not 3/4, will be local employees from the hamlet who get to sleep in their own bed at night as they're working. So a totally unique situation in the territory. So we spend a lot of time, and a lot of credit goes to our community relations manager, Nick Thomas. He stays in touch with the hamlet and the hunters and trappers on a regular basis, and just talk through what we're doing. I mean, there's concerns, there's sort of an education component, both ways, like learning what's make sure that we're working at the right time and in the right way. So it's when you really get down to it, an awful lot of it, I think, is common sense, and it's just open communication. So it's a fairly straightforward from that perspective, I would say.
Okay, very good. And Matt, the deep discount to the PEA NPV, and it's been there for a while, and you you made a quick reference to de-risking. What is it you think you need to do, because you have a primary asset that's being held at a very deep discount? How do you get, what activities to de-risk do you think will matter to investors?
I think the pre-fees will be huge. Bringing on the right team for the pre-fees as well, I think will be a really important message, I guess, to the market that we're serious on moving this project forward, not just in respect to adding more ounces as we've been doing over the years, but to really get this thing going. So I think that, quite honestly, is, and then again, you know, you also look in just kind of the messaging and the promotion. That's a big thing too, that we've, I think, laid behind a lot of, you know, other juniors out there. And so, yeah, I guess at least between those 2 points, I think will be pretty huge for Rockhaven to you know, to get something more that's, you know, considered to be more fair on the valuation front.
Okay, so our last question, which is more of an opportunity for you to make your closing statement. What milestones should investors be looking for in particular, or what milestone in particular over the next 3 to 6 months? And let's finish off, Matt, Ken, Rob.
Yeah, I'd say for us is, again, announcing the team, and then, you know, having a really nice steady stream of assays with you know, considering how many drills we're going to have turning and how many holes we're going to be putting in the ground this year. I think it'll be a really nice, consistent news flow, and again, you know, just continue to de-risk the project.
Yeah, and for us, it's, you know, I think a big part is going to be the start of this program, the bulk sample at Now Yet, which we know is coming in as we ramp up and move towards that. We'll have some more modest exploration happening on some of our other diamond projects coming up, and getting the Hope Bay Oral project on the ground, and get running there and getting that evaluation happening. And as a sidebar, which I did touch on earlier, is just looking at the diamond market. I mean, we have seen runs in other commodities, and I think that we're seeing indications of that in the diamond space, and we have information on that on our website. If you're interested in thinking about, as an investor, looking at commodities that haven't had a run, there hasn't been sort of that natural lift. We think diamonds could be turning that corner right now.
Yeah, for Commander, you know, as a prospect generator, we have a lot of different paths. Look for exploration activity. Look for announcing of work programs by our partners on our option properties this summer. I think maybe the biggest catalyst might be out of our control, but it's the advancement of the Hammerdown mine by Maritime. We get a lot of attention every time Maritime puts out a news release. They're aiming for a feasibility study in the fall, which will be a significant milestone and lock in probably the value and the timeline for that impending royalty revenue stream, which we hope to see in 2022.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, all of you. It's been a pleasure to have you. May you have further success in advancing your projects and businesses. Matt Turner, CEO, Rockhaven Resources, RK. Ken Armstrong, President and CEO, North Arrow Minerals, NAR. And Rob Cameron, CEO, Commander Resources, CMD. May you all have continued exploration success. And to you, our attendees, thank you for your time today and your patience with me as the clunky administrator. Do go to today's company's websites, learn more about them, and check in at TakeStockLive.com. Today's PowerPoint decks should be posted at the website by tomorrow. In the meantime, be determined in your due diligence and ask tough questions. We'll be back next week, 17th of February, with another sterling session. Mark and Raj signing out from TakeStockLive.com. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark and Raj.